Good evening, Community Services Committee members. I'd like to call the meeting to order this evening at 5:32 p.m. First item on the agenda this evening is election of chair and the vice chair. So I'd like to start by call for nominations for chair.
I'd like to nominate Tina.
Okay, I call for nominations for a second time. Call for nominations a third time. There being no other, if someone could make a motion to the nomination cease.
I'll move nomination cease.
And I declare Tina the chair. Tina, if you'd like to take over for vice.
All right, so
Thanks, Joe. My time was going.
do we have a nomination for vice chair? Are you interested in it?
Sure.
I'll put Arlene's name forward. Okay, so
Be confident.
We need a vice chair.
yes.
Be confident.
I'll call again for nomination number 2. And number 3. Welcome to the club, Arlene.
Thank you.
Vice Chair. All right, so we're gonna go to item number 2, the adoption of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at it and any additions?
I'll motion that the agenda for November 3rd, 2022 be approved.
All in favor? Carried. The adoption of the minutes from September 8th, 2022, attached to the agenda.
Just a note, there's an error in it. Attendance or present at the last meeting, it alternate Bruce Prestige, he was not here. And then I will motion the minutes of the September 8th, 2022 regular community services meeting be adopted as amended.
As amended. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So we do have delegations today, 4.1. And first off, are we doing these in order, Heather?
In alphabetical, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do the Anselmo Recreation and Agricultural Society. I think they're actually in the room.
Yeah.
Perfect.
People don't show up or they seem
About
excited
some
about it.
options.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
So we're here today, I guess I believe you guys have our application, correct?
Yeah.
So we're looking to upgrade our kitchen at Anselmo Hall. We brought in 3 quotes, and definitely did our back work to make sure we were kind of getting the best deal for the bang for the buck in that scenario. Our board is more than willing to do some of the work. We've got some really enthusiastic board members, especially one electrician who's on the board, who's a ticket electrician, and he has some concerns about the kitchen itself. We constantly have catering services come in and they're blowing breakers. So we want to make sure that we have a sufficient kitchen that's up and running properly. So with that, we wanted to also upgrade. The hall itself is turning 35 years this year, and the kitchen is absolutely original, and definitely by far any catering service that comes in there has a few, not complaints, but how to upgrade it and how it would be better for them. So we want to, it's our main income, the kitchen and the rental of weekend rentals of weddings, things like that. It's our main income, so we definitely want to upkeep the hall. And this will allow us to accomplish that. Maybe?
Yeah, there are also a couple of safety concerns in the kitchen right now. The flooring is very slippery when it gets wet. Our countertop is starting to come up in places, and like Renee had mentioned, the electrical, we blow breakers all the time. And yeah, I think that we are of the opinion on our board that an upgrade to the kitchen would allow us to be with the times, you know, and continue to make it a profitable rental facility in our area.
Yeah, and many, well, actually, there's a lot of new faces, but a few years back, the hall just about collapsed on us, and we had to upgrade the entire hall from the outside in. So the kitchen is definitely doesn't compare to the rest of the hall, along with the bathrooms are in pretty rough shape as well compared to all the upgrades that we've done to the main area of the hall. We get huge compliments on the hall itself, on the main area, but definitely the catering services are having issues with the inside of the kitchen, so. Any questions?
I have a few for the community use in the hall. How often do you guys host events out of there? Is it wintertime and summer, or just mostly summertime stuff?
Summertime, the hall itself takes a break because that's usually when our rentals take place. Like, you know, weddings, family reunions take place in the summer, so we don't run many events during the summer time. But the off-summer events, we're very busy. I think we hold consistently 5 events, and that doesn't include our regular like mom and tots that take place weekly, floor curling that takes place weekly. In the springs/summer, we have a ball program that uses the hall, you know, for wind-ups and such. It's an extremely busy hall.
We've
So-
got 4-H in there constantly as well.
Is there any other questions? No? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So Louise Rolston's having some issues getting online, so I think we're just gonna call her if that's all right.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Nikita? I can use the conference? Or would you rather, okay, perfect.
This is the Fort Friendship Club,
Fort
sorry, your
Friendship.
agendas, I should have changed that on the agenda.
You actually had it in here, so yeah.
I did, okay, Blue Ridge
I'm trying to-
Community League isn't able to make it, so we're gonna go to the Fort Friendship Club.
Okay. Do you have a page number for
Whoa,
that?
I'm thinking this is before the same one. That's the
Okay.
same one, right?
I'm gonna get out of here, you guys.
Well, that's Whitecourt Egg Society.
Yeah, I think it's the same
Nikita, I'm wrecking this thing.
thing. Yeah, that's what I'm.
Never trust me with tech. I thought I had to enter like 9 to get out. This is her number.
Don't worry about it, Nikita. Everyone's watching. Just relax. No pressure.
Don't start sweating.
Can I just call like myself? Oh,
I think it's 60.
Stuck on?
yeah, I'm just gonna call her myself. Turn up the volume.
It works till it doesn't.
Can everyone kind of hear the ringing?
Huh?
Hello.
Hi Louise, it's Heather.
Hi, sorry, I guess I am technologically challenged.
That's okay, you should have been here trying to get me to dial out. So I'm on my cell phone. I have you on speaker, so I'm gonna turn it over to the committee, okay?
Okay.
All right, so I'm assuming, so Fort Friendship Club is.
Hi.
Hi, so I'd just like you to go ahead with your presentation, please.
Okay, so the Fort Assiniboine Friendship Club started in 1975 with a $500 grant that was available at that time for senior citizens. On January the 6th, 1976, the club was incorporated under the Societies Act. They met Wednesdays and Sundays with the permission of the then town council in the fire hall. The historical building that we know today as the Fort Assiniboine Friendship Club and Museum was officially opened on October the 4th, 1980. And now 3 of those outbuildings are in need of having their roofs replaced and some of the windows in the hall museum, like in the hall, to be repaired. So that's what our grant is all about. Do you have any questions?
I'm just confused, just Fort Assiniboine District Ag Society is what this one is.
No, this is the Fort Assiniboine Friendship Club.
So do you have a page number for us then?
You betcha.
Because I don't see
We're all
it in
looking
here
at,
anywhere.
yeah, we're all looking at.
Sorry, their
the-
application is Blue Ridge, Whitecourt.
Is it 5-4? 'Cause this is the one with the roofing.
No, I don't know where it is. Yeah, it is attached.
We don't have the hard copy of it.
Oh my goodness, sorry, just one sec, Louise, we're having a hard time.
Okay.
One sec. There's the Blue Ridge, Whitecourt, Fort.
What page is it, Heather? Supposed to
Well,
be?
that's what I'm looking at, I don't even see it. It's supposed to be attached.
Okay, well, I can run through it if you want.
No, you know what? Can you wait on the line, or I'll call you right back, because oh, that's what my son calls. I'll call you right back in just a few minutes. We're gonna let the next group go ahead while I make copies for the committee. Okay?
Okay.
You guys mind? Okay.
That's good.
All right, James and Jennifer with the Fort Ag Society are next.
Okay, so
68, right?
69,
69.
yeah, 68, 69.
Okay. All right, so James and Felicia, are you on the line?
I am, James is on the line, that's me.
Okay, you can go ahead with your presentation for the Fort Assiniboine District Agricultural Society, please.
Okay, the grant we're applying for is for an upgrade in our rec hall to have a bathroom facility for our moms and tots group, and also to upgrade our security system so that we can monitor any activities on our sports grounds and around our buildings.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for James?
I
Go ahead.
So in your proposal, James, it's Arlene Eel, and I just was wondering if you could talk a bit more about the bathroom facilities. In the proposal, you give lots of rationale for the security system. So the bathroom, if you could just highlight that again in terms of what the upgrade is for.
Okay. So what it is, in our rec hall, there's adjoining bathroom for the curling rink. And because we were renting the rec hall out to the moms and tots group, they would like a bathroom of their own so that the kids don't have to. Some of the curlers get a little upset with all the little grubby fingers and whatever else. So, and it would also benefit our in future for any rentals that we do to the rec hall. They wouldn't have to utilize the rest of the building. The bathroom would be in just that rec hall.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions of James? Seeing none, thank you very much, James. Heather will be in contact with you.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so next, she's still not back, so we'll go ahead with the Whitecourt District Agricultural Society, and I think you are here. So,
Sit up here and
Yep.
say.
introduce yourselves, please. I
No,
know most of you know Malcolm.
Most everybody knows me here, but I'm the president of the Ag Society, Whitecourt Ag Society.
And Chris Underwood, the administration at the Ag Society.
So we made application this year for a couple of roofs that we need to get fixed out there at the ag grounds. You know, it seems like the last couple of years we've been in kind of fix-up mode. And last year we had I guess that's what we want to, that's what we had this year, really only our application that we had this year. Although over the last few years, we've been trying to look at some income out there at the Ag Society as well. We put in last year we're at the first phase of our stables that we want to have out there for when people come in with their horses and stuff, they got somewhere to keep the horses. Some of these horses are pretty expensive. They like to have some place that's covered for the horses in the event of storms or something that comes up. So we didn't really put that in there this year, but we are looking at doing that. And again, we want the CFIP grant and stuff to apply for. All of them grants usually don't line up with what we're doing, so it's tough to get a handle on what we should ask for. But we'd like to go with the 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. So 1/3 would be from the county, 1/3 would be from the CFIP, and the other one would be our capital account that we have at the Ag Hall. We've done that on a few occasions with the county for it was for the skid steer and stuff that we got out there a few years ago. So we like to partner with that, but we never really put that in our application this year, but we're really needing to look at something that we can start bringing income into the Ag Society with, rather than just relying on grants and stuff all the time. So that was just one that we made application for, but we don't, we used last year's prices on it. On the phone, they said the prices would probably be 10% higher this year than they were last year, but that's just an ongoing thing. It seems like every year we try to get a price run on, and then the next year it's 10% higher, 10 to 15% higher. You know, the price of lumber and everything last year just went crazy. So that's an ongoing kind of a grant thing that we'd like to keep going with the county, that we could look back on for some help. That's about all that we have right at the moment. We are going to also this next year. We've got a jumping club at the county, that at the Ag Society, that we're really getting involved in our facility now. They want to set up a cross-country course out there. We've got lots of land around there that we could put that cross-country course in, so we're going to be working with them this next year to see what kind of plans we can come up with for something like that. And that would involve a lot more people in the community, as well as bringing people from out of town.
All over Alberta.
All over Alberta, actually, because it seems like that jumping thing is really coming of age. And that's just something that, again, next year we'll probably be looking at doing that sort of thing on that. So we just want to reiterate to you that we are progressive. We're always trying to look for ways to help our the Ag Society make money, and one of those will of course be the stables that we want to have on an ongoing program, and then the cross-country course that we're putting in for them as well.
I just have a question regarding the stables. It's obviously, you said it wasn't included in this grant, but do you have numbers for us so that?
I've actually got the grant, the applications right here that we had prepared, but I didn't think we had enough in them at the time that we sent our requests in. But since then, we were able to look at our numbers better. But of course, we didn't ask for that this year. But it's just something that's ongoing, that some way that we just want to generate some income out there for the Ag Society.
What does policy state?
Policy says they need to be in by the 15th to be considered for the next year's budget. The only thing that I would recommend, if it's outside of the policy, that it could go to council directly. But I can speak to Gord if this is something you'd like to move forward, and then,
Well, we've been trying to get it the last couple of years. Last year, we got turned down, of course, with it. And so we just didn't get it in there in time. By the time we talked to Chris about it, I was quite busy the last while. We just come up the other day and said, holy smokes, we missed that stable thing that we've been asking for the last couple of years.
So with the you said it was a CFIP grant? So that fits within that scope then, the stables, and you've applied now?
The application wouldn't go in until January 15th.
And then they
So it
don't,
would
they
be
don't
like
tell
a
you
spring.
till what, June or something like
Yeah.
that. It's every 3 months or 6 months that they approve those applications, so we're always kind of running behind
Okay.
on those ones.
Is there any further questions for?
I just had a quick question. So, just so I understand the scope of the grant that you're asking for. You see, you do have it split the 3 ways in your application, with an estimate attached for Malibu Roofing and then also from King Industries. But if the quote is for the 7539-ish, but split 3 ways isn't 3737.
Yeah, that one's not split 3 ways, that's just with the county paying their 50% and us giving 50%. That's on this grant that we just applied for this year.
Roof repairs.
Roof repairs.
Oh, okay.
It's on our cook shack out there as well as the shed that's over top of our system. Now we just need to replace the shingles and the roof. And all
That will get done in spring.
We're not doing that, because we're starting to leak.
Any further questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, great, thank you very much, sir.
thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch.
Okay, that'd be great.
Do you have your Fort Friendship back on the line?
I can do that. I didn't know if you wanted to have a minute to read the package.
I guess maybe we should do
Yeah,
that.
if you just take a few minutes and have a read. It's pretty straightforward, and then I'll call Ms. Rolston back.
Okay, so let's just take a minute then and.
What's our total grant pool for these types of situations?
For capital grants, there isn't a pool. I'm not sure if you remember when council met the other day with your budget, the top part was there was 3 sections that Mr. Frank had, they were in the top part.
Okay.
So we don't have a set amount for capital grants because we don't know what the ask is gonna be. So
Right.
that's why we asked them to submit their grants in the fall so that we can include them in next year's budget. So although timing was kind of weird, normally the committee would make the recommendations to council on what they'll cover. So at our meeting in October, we would have done that. But now we're doing it in November, but I did include it because we needed it for your meeting.
Right.
So it might be, whatever you guys approve today, it could be less than what was in that amount, but
But even that amount hasn't necessarily been approved, correct?
no.
So are we, just so I understand, like, are we kind of working backwards here, like we're gonna,
What you're doing is, you're not actually approving these grants.
Yeah.
You're making recommendations to council to include it in their 2023 budget.
oh, I see.
And you're just gonna have, you can say for the full amount of their ask, or you can say for half, and then I would forward that on. So like I said, normally, it would be, you guys would have met before that meeting, but it was just timing.
Okay.
So the full amount went to you guys, but, and we'll make decisions,
Recommendations.
recommendations afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're ready.
You ready? Okay.
Right, everyone ready?
Hi, Louise, we're back.
Okay.
Okay, and I think we're ready to go forward with questions. They've all had the grant and had a look over.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Louise? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have, hi Louise, it's Arlene Eel.
Hi.
Hi. Just a quick question, regarding the, funding. So it's a joint, it's gonna be shared by, or you're proposing that it be shared by the county and your organization, is that right? 50-50?
Well, that's kind of the way that it has worked, I guess, or that this grant does work, even though Woodlands County actually owns the building.
Okay. So I was just curious with the 16,275, just looking at your financial statement, that's
Right, that's 50% of it. And I'm currently waiting actually for another quote from Dickinson Construction. They actually are in Woodlands County. They live north of Fort Assiniboine.
okay.
So that number could change. Maybe it'll be lower. I don't really know at this point, but we do know that we have to do something with those roofs.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work. And just to clarify, that's wood shakes on those buildings, right?
That's right. Bruce Cole is the one who had did the quote for me, and then I talked to him about tin, and then I wasn't at the last meeting, so some of the people wanted to stay as wood shakes, and I understand that for the main building, but I'm not sure if we could maybe go to a different kind of product for the outbuildings.
Yeah.
I have to find that out for sure.
Well, if you're repairing very many wood shakes, it's very expensive.
I know, because a couple of people that I have talked to have told me that a 2-foot by 10-foot section is $148 for a half-inch cedar shake. So that's very expensive.
Yeah.
Where Bruce thought we could probably do a tin and maybe be $8,000 to $10,000 less. But then somebody told me that it's been designated a historical site, so we have to keep it the way, but I need to find out if that's true or not.
Well, I would think that I'm no expert obviously in roofing, but the museum, like the original integrity of that building should probably be maintained, would be my thoughts. Thank you. All right,
You're welcome.
that you might want to.
Did I answer your question, Arlene?
Yeah, thank you, Louise.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions?
It's a lot of money for a couple small outbuilding roofs. I do think, you should check into the heritage building situation, because if you tin would be significantly cheaper and would last forever, like the rest of the life of that building, as opposed to worrying about cedar shakes again. Like, this is, I think, probably the worst time in the world to be trying to buy any kind of wood product for construction.
See, and that's what I think too. I can totally understand the main building keeping the integrity and it being cedar shakes. I'm not so sure that the outbuildings need to be, but I have to discuss it with the rest of the members.
Okay.
Heather, do you know if that building, if it's designated a historical site?
I don't think the main building is, but that doesn't mean we don't have any documentation on the county side. I can definitely help you, assist you to look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for being so flexible, Louise.
Sorry, I'm so technologically challenged. Okay.
It's all good. I'll be in touch with you in a few days.
All right, you guys have a good evening.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
All right, so is that all the presentations, Heather, and that will fit the Indigenous Friends Society into?
They're the new business.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what
they're
I
a new
thought.
business.
Okay. The Blue Ridge, she kind of crossed it.
5.1.
Oh,
Yeah, Blue Ridge Community League is,
Oh, they are not able to make it.
oh, so we're
Yeah.
not gonna go ahead
They're not
with
gonna.
reviewing this?
Oh, no, they're going with the grant. They just couldn't be here tonight
Oh,
to
so-
present.
Okay, so really, we should still as a group review it though, right?
Yeah,
Like if anybody has any
will.
questions.
yeah, we
Yeah,
can
we
talk
will
about
at the
it.
end,
Yeah.
at the next.
Sorry.
Okay,
Not joking.
so we're good. I guess we'll need a motion for the delegations as information. Okay, do we need that?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, all in favor? Great. So we'll move on to number 5, new business. And 5.1 is the Whitecourt Indigenous Friends Society, the surplus funding request. And I think we have a guest here.
Hi all, I'm Velma Ray. I'm the Vice President of the Whitecourt Indigenous Friends Society. And I am here today to request the utilization of the remainder of funds from the grant that we were approved for. We have $173 and I believe 21 cents left in the budget. Not a substantial amount, but it's left over from the supplies that we had helped purchase along with what the facilitator provided. So what I'm looking at is holding a second workshop geared strictly to youth. Because when we held the initial event, we had low registrations due to the presentation of it being on the Sunday. So we didn't have a lot of persons interested in coming on a weekend. We did have one participant on the initial day that the workshop was presented. And she said she had many friends interested, but they just couldn't make it on that day. It was very well received by the participants we did have attending. It was new, it was interesting, and they said they would love to see this continue further throughout the years. So that is our goal, is continuing this type of workshop which address grief. But it wasn't primarily geared towards grief through loss of someone passing. It was through family breakdown, loss of a job, loss of friendships, loss of pets, which was a focus of some of the participants. So what we'd like to do, as I previously stated, was utilize these funds to purchase supplies. As the prior facilitator brought all her own supplies, we were just left with filling in the gaps that were there. So I'm not certain, we did not have our meeting yesterday, so we haven't had a date set as to when we'd like to do this, but of course it has to be prior to the end of December. So once we know if we do have the ability to utilize these funds, we will go ahead with advertising. So that's why I'm here, that's our request today.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I think it makes sense. Easy request.
They were all this easy. I think that'd be fabulous.
Yeah.
Is it enough to run?
Yes, because
Or
what
you'll
I'm.
be combining it with something?
No, actually, what I'm looking for is, because I do have the art therapy certificate, I am a trained mental health therapist, I can facilitate this workshop on behalf of Whitecourt Indigenous Friends Society. So we don't have overhead costs involving a facilitator, it's mainly for the supplies for that day. I'm looking at
I
between
was
6
just
to 8
wondering because
participants.
your original grant request was for 4,000, so I was thinking, what will you do with?
Yes.
So that's great, that's awesome.
A great amount was for the outside facilitator that came to present.
Thank you.
Yep, I'll motion that the committee approve the Whitecourt Indigenous Friends Society using the surplus funds of $175 from their 2022 Arts and Culture Grant towards another healing class under the condition it is used before, wait, do you need it to be done before December 31st?
Yes, I believe falling in line with the grant requirements
All right.
is feasible.
Okay, under the condition it is used before December 31st, 2022.
Okay, motion on the floor. All in favor? Okay, Carrie,
Thank you all.
thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
We'll be in touch.
All right, so we're gonna go to five.
Or somebody come, somebody snuck in.
I was gonna say, who's someone's watching our meeting. All right, so 5.2, the Anselmo Recreation and Agricultural Society Capital Grant Request. Any comments? That is on 16. Sorry?
Do we do this in camera or not?
No, this isn't in camera. The only thing that's in camera, because it's not FOIP'd, like there's no personal information being shared. Bursaries are FOIP'd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your discussion is live, streaming.
Okay, is there any comments or questions for this one?
Can I just ask a comment or question with all of them? Do we ever consider cash on hand for these societies or organizations when we make these decisions?
You've asked that question before with certain ones,
Yeah.
but it's not always, it's not like a requirement, it's not in the policy when you're vetting them.
Yeah.
It's, I can tell you that the Anselmo group, when their stucco repair happened, we gave them we backed them up, we gave them like a startup loan
or something.
of 63,000, but they paid every cent back. So technically, they didn't get a capital grant that year, so they are very active, they do fundraising.
Yeah, it is a very active hall, I know that for sure. Yeah. So we really don't look at their revenue source at all for any of these decisions.
It's not, we don't even have a matrix. This is something we can eventually look at, having like a matrix for these kind of requests to say this is what you could look at. Some of them have GIC, some of them have money in
Cash on
investments,
hand.
cash on hand.
Yeah.
So it's, as a group, it's whatever you feel you want to take into account when you're making your decisions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just looking through. Did this one provide 3 quotes or only just the 1 quote?
Well, I can tell you all of them really struggle to get quotes. There's not a lot of construction people that are willing to do it. So from what I see in here, they did, but they included different, this was a bigger application. They did include different sections because they're looking at, well, if they don't do this section, like they're breaking it down into cupboards, shelves, cabinets, such like that.
Yeah.
But they did only get the one from, where is it here? This, the cabinet gentleman, and then it's kind of broken into what the other items would cost. As Renee mentioned, they've got different people that are willing to do the work. So they're looking at this. This would include their supplies as well as the contractor that would be doing some of the work. So there's not like a complete, this guy's gonna come in and do everything and leave, right?
This is almost like an in-kind.
There's a lot of in-kind, and we do take that into consideration. And especially if they're, the one gentleman that they mentioned is actually a ticketed electrician, so we know that they're gonna be meeting their needs.
Do they need a development permit for that? Okay. I
They
just
got
realized.
2 quotes for the cabinets, didn't they?
Sorry?
One from that gem cabinets and one from Home Hardware?
Yes, so they're not really quotes per se, but
But they're trying to figure out if they're getting a fairly good deal, right? Like,
Yes.
just, yeah.
The effort, definitely, yeah.
and they could come under that budget as well. So what this, when we make recommendations to go to council for this amount would be 21. If they come under budget, that's good too, but this is the max that they will get. If they go over budget, they still just get this max, this amount, so.
So it's all dependent on submitting receipts once the job is completed
Yep.
then?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the $21,963.07 for Anselmo Rec and Ag Society for renovations.
Okay, motion on the floor, all in favor?
Can I just clarify one thing? That's for their full ask? Because I left it blank in the motion. Just-
Yeah, for the full ask, yeah, $21,963.07.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay. So 5.3, Fort Assiniboine and District Egg Society, on page 69. Any comments or on that ask? And that one is for $18,979 for the rec center bathroom upgrades and security system.
Yeah, I'm just looking at their proposal versus our community organizational capital grant requirements. I mean, I could see the work for the bathroom meeting that, but does the security system upgrade meet the priority, assess priority of projects list, like public health and safety requirements, accessibility needs, energy efficiency? I need shown from a completed facility life cycle plan, so if we broaden those terms, I'm not sure that the security system falls under any of those.
Well, yes and no, because it falls under that over 5,000. And it also, this is an upgrade, I believe.
Yeah, they said their previous one was
Yeah,
defunct.
yeah, it's not really, really effective. So where was I thinking that it would fit in here? It could fit under 44.1A, the public health and safety requirements. I guess that's where I'm the yes and the no. It's,
I mean, I don't know on that one.
okay.
Sorry, I'm just looking for.
I'm just trying to figure out what's the breakdown between who, oh, here it is.
Yeah, it's on page, oh, it's not, these aren't numbered.
71, I think.
Yeah.
It's the security system's $14,490.
Or 24,769. Right, we've
Those are
received
the
two
quotes.
quotes for these upgrades. One's 24 and one's 14. I'm
Are
just
the
not,
red stars the ones that it's going? Even
yeah, I'm not sure where it's specifically for the bathroom what those costs are.
Yeah, that was Bruce Cole, that's the one,
Oh, okay, the
yeah,
third one.
so
here.
Bruce Cole's quote was 23,467.50. That's the one in the, and then Skyline is the other one, is for 14. I believe Greystone Electric was for just the bathrooms.
I'm looking under page 4, project application, project name, security upgrade, recreational center in Walsh Park. That would mean that the security system from Greystone is 24,769.
Wow,
That's what that number is.
wow. that's big.
Skyline is 14,490.
I think that's why they went with Skyline.
Yeah.
But then that means this application is for security system, not for the bathrooms.
No, it does include the bathrooms. So when you total 23,467.50 and 14,490, it's 37,958, and then divide that by 2 and it's 18,000. That's their ask, is half.
Right, I should learn how to
It
read.
confuses it when you add that second quote in there.
Yes.
Because I was trying to think.
And I think the red highlights is what
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, I highlighted that for you because
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
we have thought about revamping this just based on understanding, because I don't know if you guys remember this, but previously this didn't even come to community services like a few years ago, and then our scope of work kind of changed, and then it was thought that this would be helpful to vet it through the community services committee. So we're gonna revamp this because it's eventually.
I'm not gonna pretend to be a security systems specialist. $14,000 seems like a lot of money. My viewpoint on these capital grant applications, I think we should sway towards actually capital assets and not nice to haves like security systems. I'm sure the security system they feel it's very essential, but I'm certain we're gonna only have a certain amount of money to share around here, and when we wanna talk about a capital grant, it should be focused on capital items like bathroom repairs, roofs, that kind of stuff. That's my opinion on that.
Okay. Any further discussion then? How does anybody else feel about
I'd definitely be comfortable making a motion excluding the security system.
I kind of agree with that as well.
So I'm just trying to find the dollar value.
So it's
That's okay, you have an opinion, yeah.
$733.50, excluding, but go ahead and make your comment.
I guess the security system piece, I can understand why, priority-wise, that it might be kind of questioned, but right now, just given all of the issues around security overall, just about, I don't know any place that doesn't have some sort of security system. So I don't know if we're questioning the total amount, or whether we could go back and ask for more estimates or something about, I have no idea what an average cost of a security system is, but these days I can see a need for one, but maybe they have other funding.
Well, they did include 2 quotes for that, like the
Yeah.
Greystone Electric, and that they struggled to
So
get, they're
cute.
supposed to have 3, and they struggled to get 2.
Right, and especially given with just 2, there's such a broad range, like opposite ends of the spectrum, 10,000 difference. If maybe they should provide a third, that would help us, I don't know.
They couldn't get one, no one would give them one. We can ask them, that's, because I said you need 3, and they were like, we can't get 3.
It's hard to get quotes on anything.
Right. Okay.
And you
that
can
was my
look,
only comment.
you have their financial statements, so
Yeah.
that's a decision that you guys can make.
Sorry, this is something that we can only ask them, but have they had issues with?
They said in their,
Like, I didn't-
their descriptor. The Ag Society has encountered theft on many occasions, and to prevent insurance claims and constant repair and replace of items, we have sought out quotes to install a system. And then it says they did have one and it was outdated. But, it's hard to say.
All right, so I guess if you're comfortable making a motion, then
I'm comfortable making a motion that we would give them the funds for half of the of the repairs of the bathrooms. So that would be $11,733 plus change.
75 cents.
cents. Okay, we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously.
You don't have to be in favor if you don't agree with it.
No.
We do have to make a motion, though, so
Yes.
something has to happen. All right, so we're gonna move to 5.4, which is the Whitecourt District Ag Society on page 88. These big packages are great. All right. Okay, so this includes just the $3,732.50 for the shingles and roofing repairs on the camp kitchen and storage shed.
Any comment?
No, sorry, go ahead.
So as stated on the previous one, we're looking at specifically for capital grants. This kind of falls well within line, and the size of the grant request is also, seems something that could be very amenable to what we're looking for here for grants.
Yeah, I don't. Is you comfortable making a motion for that?
I can make a motion, yeah. I'll motion the Community Services directs admin to forward the recommendation to Woodlands County Council to include in the 2023 budget a capital grant for Whitecourt District Ag Society for $3,732.50.
Okay, motion on the floor, all in favor? Carried. Move on to 5.5, Blue Ridge Community League. Oh. Yeah. Is that the one that we, sorry, I'm gonna flip back.
And we're gonna have to add a line for the Fort Friendship Club.
Yeah, so are we just
So-
substituting the two?
No, their grant's still going in, they just weren't able to be here to talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll talk about the Blue Ridge Community League capital grant, and that's on page 111. And maybe Heather, you want to just speak to the ask?
Yes. So they're wanting to reside the actual hall this time. That previously, as you can see with the RFD, they did the boxing club and such. I don't know where I put that one, but anyway. So now they're looking at doing this. It's a little bit, when you look at the grant ask, the actual half of their ask was 22, well, they're asking 22,000, so half would be 11. But she just asked if we made it up to 15 because of the contingency plan that they're anticipating that with supplies changing. So she said if we ask for 15, we max that, but if we're under that, we're good. So she just didn't want to be stuck with,
Being short.
and yeah,
And not being able to do it.
yes.
Any other further comments on this? It's hard when they don't make a presentation, I'm just trying to make sure.
They also struggled getting a quote, but they did, the two that they did from Denali's and Elite, but I believe Elite is no longer. I don't know if you guys have heard that. I don't know.
Elite Construction?
Yeah,
Really?
but that's one of those rumors I haven't confirmed yet, but both of their quotes are within,
Well, actually, not really, because if you look at Elite, going further into the package, it's plus GST. So their quote really is $24,326. I mean, it's not a big thing, but it's $1,100 more.
yeah, that is significant. So perhaps that's also the contingency, I don't know, should
Yeah.
be covered with the
I mean, we all know
15,000?
building anything, you should have a contingency, right? Like
Yeah.
10 to 15% is not unheard of.
Some construction people apparently won't even quote on some of the smaller stuff because they can't guarantee the price because everything fluctuating, so that's another reason why they're having difficulty getting quotes.
Makes sense.
Okay. I think it fits within the scope too, right, like the setting, so somebody willing to make a motion for this one?
I can make one.
Okay.
That the Community Services directs administration to forward their recommendations to Woodlands County Council to include in the 2023 budget a capital grant for the Blue Ridge Community League of
15,000.
15,000.
Okay, motion on the floor, all in favor? Carried. All right, so.
You're very quiet over there, John.
I just have to run out for a second.
Okay.
If you'll excuse me.
Okay. We're going to move to 5.6, which is the post-secondary bursary application.
Do we have to do the friendship?
We need to do for that,
Add it.
yeah, Friendship
Oh,
Club.
Friendship Club.
Sorry,
Yeah, I'm
yes.
sorry, I have completely messed your agenda up today, but
It's okay, we can handle it. 5.5.1,
sure.
Sure.
Yeah?
Whatever.
is that what we're gonna do?
Let's go with that.
Okay, so what, that's the one right here.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any questions or comments about this one?
As discussed on the phone with them, I wonder if we can potentially look at getting a little bit more information, like with regard for cedar shaking every outbuilding, that it's a significant cost. I don't think, as much as I want to support the association and the building, obviously, that we own as a Woodlands County, maybe we should look at what the requirement's gonna be around if one of them is a heritage building, for one. And then two, honestly, if we're investing in the life cycle of the buildings, I think we should look at something that has a lot more life than Cedar Shakes do, especially if it's a building that Woodlands County owns. So I think more information, I have no problem providing funding for them to do the repairs, but I think that we just need more information on this.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
And it may be included in that is exploring other funding sources. Because if it is, that building has, I would be surprised if it doesn't have provincial funding attached to it originally.
Yeah, heritage funding.
So if they maybe explore other.
They have in the past for certain things, because you've been there, so you know, so there's been a lot of changes to where the meeting, the Fort Friendship Club is, and then there's been attachments, and so I believe they looked into it, but I can get the details for sure. I'm not an accurate source for that at this point, so we can find out, but I know that they've talked about accessing historical building.
And it wouldn't even be just historical funding. I'm thinking about if it's a designated museum within the province, that ministry has funding.
I don't think it's a designated museum, but again, I might not have up to date, but I remember when we looked at getting that to be like an actual visitor information center. This was a few years ago, because people stop in there all the time. There was some hoops and such, and I don't know if so I can definitely work with them to get, other than shakes, and if it's a historical and other quotes that we can get. So this number that they're asking, 16, did go to, so there is a little bit, we've got some wiggle room. It hasn't been approved yet, so. And it's on your radar now, so if you guys are talking about it at budget, you're aware. I'll get that information as soon as I can.
Yep. So how do we need a motion for that? Because obviously we're not approving the value.
Yeah, you're just directing administration to further research and the heritage and historical and those kind of
It
things.
doesn't affect the timeline of their submission because their original submission was within
It shouldn't.
October.
Yeah. If anything, if we find out, it might be less if they can find other funding, or, because I think the tin is cheaper, isn't it, than the shakes?
Yeah.
So-
It might not be significantly cheaper, but it'll last 25, 30
Yeah.
years, right? So then I'll make a motion that administration discusses with the grant application about alternative roofing methods for this.
Okay. Motion on the floor. All in favor?
I
Here.
got enough of that conversation.
All right, so now we're gonna move into the post-secondary bursaries, right? We're good? Capital grant, wait,
Before you do, we need a motion to go into closed session.
closed session.
Motion to go into closed session under FOIP,
Okay,
section 17.
all right. Do we have to make we're good? All in,
Oh, sorry.
motion on the floor, all in favor? Now we did.
Gotta go to the bathroom.
Thank you. It's good. You got it. Look at you. Joan's taking my minutes. She's awesome.
When are we moving to Rumble from YouTube?
Oh, jeez.
Is it slow tonight?
Might get a few more viewers.
All right, so
You recorded when you left.
I just recused myself, so I'm gonna recuse myself because there is my last name on the applications. Okay.
Can we have an emotion then that for the approval of the post-secondary bursaries for Josh Robinson, James Prodandiak, and Miriam F.?
I'll motion that Community Services Committee approve post-secondary bursaries for 2020 to 2022 to 2024 for Josh Robinson, James Pradaniak, and Miriam Epp.
All in favor? Motion carried.
Yeah. good. I'll figure it out.
Do you want to keep going?
Go ahead, thank you.
Okay, so are we on number 5.7 now? Correct? Okay. The community service project update for November.
Yeah, wow, and we haven't met since September 8th, so that's a long time. All right, I can start by keeping you updated on our needs assessment that we're doing. I sent out an email to council, I'm sure you both have read your emails. Okay, so if you're gonna see it in the paper, it was in the Express, it's gonna be coming out probably, I think the Express is out on the 6th. In there somewhere? Anyway, so we advertised in the Express that we're doing this. We have, based on what we've been doing with Help Seeker, we're doing focus groups. So we book specific times where we can do interviews, and that will be for seniors. We've got a seniors group down here in Blue Ridge, and then we've got a seniors focus group at the Fort Assiniboine Legion. So we're inviting seniors with our advertisement, word of mouth and everything to go to those focus groups. And then we're also doing focus groups with interagency service providers, basically, and we're doing one here in Whitecourt side, and then we're gonna do another one in Mayerthorpe, and so Barhead, Mayerthorpe, those kind of service providers will be there. They want to interview them to see what exactly is being offered before they come back and say, well, based on our conversations with your residents, this is what you need to do, because part of our contract with them is to provide us with an action plan, which was, to me, that was the most important thing, to tell us, okay, this is what we found out, now this is what you do with it. And so he's coming up, Travis, he's the co-founder, co-president. He's coming up to do them himself. And then we've got an online survey that people can take. And we're also telling people through our advertising that if you have a disability, if you're visually impaired and you can't, for instance, take the survey online, that they're gonna register with us, and then I'll put them in touch with Help Seeker, and they'll do an in-person interview, and they'll do that themselves. And of course, anybody who doesn't wanna do it online, that wants to do it over the phone, we're encouraging that as well. What else? Oh, so we're gonna be in all the newspapers. We've got a radio ad planned. We're word of mouth. We're word of mouse. So we're gonna have it on Facebook, website. So we got Nikita and I are on a whole communications plan. And so if you're gonna see some advertising, if, counselors get people in your ward that ask you, what is this about? If you're not comfortable, let me know, and we're just basically assessing what the need is, and we're targeting youth and seniors specifically on isolation issues, but it's kind of gonna be overarching a little bit to see what actual services do we need. And this is gonna assist us, actually, the entire municipality, not just programming for community services. We could find that there's accessibility issues with our roads, with our sites, so this information is gonna be able to help us make decisions for level of service, for future budgeting, so that we have never undertaken anything like this in Woodlands County. And in fact, when I hired them, one of their first fact-finding, Joan and I met with them online, was she said, well, send me what you've done previously. And I said, I have nothing. So this is a good baseline, and eventually maybe we could budget for this again in a few years, but this is a great baseline. I'm so excited to find out what everybody reports that their needs are in our community, specifically in a rural community. Help Seeker, as I mentioned before, has done municipalities' needs assessments, social impact studies, everything across Canada, and they've got a really diverse knowledge base, and their database is spot on. So he's going to be meeting with council on the 29th when he comes up, just for a one-on-one with council, and then if you guys would like to be part of that, please let me know. As community services members, I can make that happen as well. So that's been interesting, trying to find data. Hey, Joan and I have been running around on that. Okay, so programming, we're continuing our fitness classes in the fort, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen moving into next year with that. As this location and her rent, she's really struggling with funding for rent. We did help her this fall, but we'll see what happens. We're looking at, there's some seniors that really want a crib tournament, so that's kind of, so they're being explored and what the costs are gonna be. And we've started talking about volunteer appreciation for next year. So seniors was last year, now we go volunteer appreciation. And what that's gonna look like. And thinking about Family Fun Day as well, how we can kick it up a notch now that everything's open and we can get more vendors and well, hopefully it'll be a little bit bigger.
Tie down the generator.
They won't even let me have one. I had to pay for that generator, it was $1,000. But yeah, we're not sure if we're gonna do that again. That was funny.
Which hires like one of the senior members of the community to be a security agent.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. Well, and part of the reason we had them so far out in the road is that a lot of people have said they missed that turn, right? To go to the rec area. We still have people that have never heard of the Blue Ridge Recreation Area, so it's quite, and actually based on that conversation, if I can just digress, big surprise that I'm digressing. I talked to Joan about some of our new staff have never been to some of our rec areas and they've never been to the fort, so why not plan a familiarization tour for our staff? And maybe some committee members that wanna join that, because when we say Schumann or we say, we're having an event somewhere, if you don't know what we're talking about. So, post-secondary, obviously, that update went to the G&P, that's our priorities, governance and priorities part of council, and it's going to council on the 23rd, November 23rd. So, we've asked Cheryl, I'm not sure if, I haven't actually asked Gord if she could come and talk about that, but she's quite proud that she cannot believe it's finally happening. I mean, I said, yeah, it's been a year. But she's quite proud that this is actually happening, that she's influenced policy change in her community. So we're quite excited for that as well.
I can't believe it's been a year since she presented that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Wow.
Well, that's process, right? That's,
I don't mean crazy that it took a year. It feels like it was a month ago.
yeah.
This year's flown by.
She's actually pretty excited, if I can share a little tidbit with you. She got a closed captioning device for her telephone. So she had the first positive feeling experience on the telephone where she didn't have to struggle. She didn't feel inadequate. She just, I got a text from her, I got this. I was so excited for her. So for her to come and talk to you when we go to adopt this policy, this is huge for her.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Just, with regards to that policy change, do you think, how will that be, or would that be promoted in the community or advertised? Because it'll be a change, right?
Yeah.
For next year's bursary applications.
Yeah, so when we do our current, obviously when we do what we do now to spread it out, we would just do extra social media. We'll probably do maybe an ad in the paper. We don't have a lot of money for advertising because it's not cheap, but we will definitely get the messaging out. We'll put an ad in the Express. We will definitely get the word out. And then when I meet with the schools, as we discovered in the last conversation, I'll definitely put that out there.
Right. And I think when the highlights of the council meetings go in the paper. Or do you
I don't think we
Some of
do
the
points to capture anymore, do we?
Facebook.
Sometimes they'll do our releases into the papers.
Okay.
Most of the time.
Because when that's approved, then that would be another.
We'll definitely get the word out for sure.
So if you could just make sure that goes to, I don't know who's gonna be doing it, Corinne or you, or, but that, because we're gonna be starting into those Reeves videos soon.
Okay.
And we can touch on some of that, because
perfect.
that's the whole idea, is to try and up the profile of the municipality and what's going on and that kind of thing. So those are gonna be a
Perfect.
short series of YouTube videos, so.
Get to what are they called?
I don't think we have.
Revids. You gonna start TikToking?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, not TikTok though.
But videos, okay?
Yeah.
No, I'll make sure.
Can we have closed capture involved in that?
I don't know.
Could she kind of be involved in that?
Yeah, she might. I'll
John's
talk.
saying she could sign?
To close, oh, I see.
Yeah. It's one more thing to get out there.
Yeah,
right?
it's an idea.
Well, she can interpret all council meetings.
She's going to school full time right now. I know.
Well, we could certainly do it as a part of one of the videos for sure, yeah.
When you
Oh, that's a
announce
great
it.
idea.
Yeah, I think so. Perfect. The terms of reference, so your motion at your last meeting to increase the terms of our terms of reference to include 2 youth. We thought we'd also, because we're going to be changing that, when you change a bylaw, there's it's a process. So we just reviewed the whole thing and we decided that in your terms of reference with the new policy that council just adopted for partnership and sponsorships, we need to adjust your scope of work so that it'll be listed there. So those changes are going, again, went to governance and priorities and are going to council on November 23rd.
If I can just add with
Yes.
respect to the membership of the youth, I know that we had talked about the one youth member at this point in time, and then maybe looking at it in a couple of years, just to see and get it out there, get our new member maybe excited about it and see how it works. So yeah, rather than the 2 youth members, it'll be going as one. However, council does have the option to change that if they choose, once the other council members get to see it.
So what might happen is once this is adopted on the 23rd, that enables us to keep Rebecca, who was appointed as a youth, and advertise again to get another member at large. So we could have another member as well. Seniors tax rebate program, give you Nicole's notes if I can. That program, it was a great idea and now it has morphed into something completely different. So now we're looking at combining a lot of the seniors programming that we have at Woodlands County into a low income kind of rebate, not even rebate, but a program. So if you can show documentation that you were low income, you can get a tax rebate. And if you have our seniors transportation grant, which right now has no income cap, if you can again demonstrate that you're low income, you can apply. So a few people are not going to be eligible for that transportation grant program anymore. But this is meaningful, I believe, is what we've talked about at our last meeting. We want to do assistance, but meaningful. And we would still include in this program 3 flags, 3 snowplow flags. Yeah, so that has gone to G&P. And I'm not sure if it's going to the 23rd.
Yes.
Okay, I think it's going to on the November 23rd. I spoke at the Fort Assiniboine Friendship Center Lunch and Learn. We talked about how that was probably a boot camp for seniors. We talked about how the municipality works and the hierarchy and the structure. And I talked to them a little bit about how they want to hear about our events and our things. And it was loud and clear that they want a poster. They want a poster all over Fort Assiniboine, Blue Ridge. They want posters. And they like the phone tree. They want, if I said, well, then I'm going to need to know who I nominate, because they said that's how they find out about things, is a buddy phones and says, so are you going to that lunch thing? And so posters is going to be, Nikita worked on a beautiful poster for our needs assessment. We're going to blanket Fort Assiniboine. We're going to put it everywhere because that's what they want. And they don't like our roads. So I'll just leave it at that. It was fun though. There's a little pitch in for the meal, and then we kept them on task they started to get a little upset, and then we brought them all back and it ended up on a good note, so they're quite happy. The care program that we were talking about, just to update you, didn't come to this meeting. As you can see, it was pretty full, and so I think that'll begin the next meeting. We'll bring back more policies. I did have someone apply from your Taekwondo club, but he lives in Whitecourt, and he said he heard about it from the club, so thank you, who's ever spreading the word over there. Okay, that was awesome. Yeah. I don't know if he actually has joined yet, because he didn't have the fees, and when I called him, he said, well, I don't know what my fees are.
Okay.
So he might not have joined. I can share that name with you, but
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, we have it on the website now too.
Okay, good. Excellent. So we'll focus on that. Another meeting, we'll have those adjusted. And just some training that we've done for the municipality. Mr. Frank brought in some customer service training. Although we can't call it mandatory, we were all there. And it was actually pretty interesting.
It's very good.
We had some good laughs and something that we learned at the conference about saying sorry to say thank you instead. It was interesting. And we also did some reconnecting after the pandemic and dealing with some of the stresses about being with people again. There was probably 11 of us that went to that. That was by choice. And then the ladies and I, which you guys will probably talk about, Tina and Tracy and I went, and Joan went to the ARPA conference. I I think that's about it. Yeah, that's on my report, so.
Did you miss the future meeting times?
Did I which?
I know that we talked about, like Al had said, some of the meeting times, they were moved because prior commitments by some counselors and stuff, but does this time work for everybody, or they wanna look at different earlier, later, this time, whatever?
For me, this is fine. Evenings is way better for me. I have a lot of already daytime commitments that I have, so it's, if we can do evenings, it's good for me.
So is it 5 work, or, like, I know we used to say 5:30 because we used to do supper, but,
Yeah, we did supper at 5 and meeting at 5:30.
yeah.
5's fine by me. If you want it earlier.
We can send out,
I work 2 minutes away from here, so.
Doesn't matter to me, 5 works too.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Can we just talk about it later, like when, who we missing, Al and Rebecca?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it'd work for her, but.
okay, no, we can put that on a future agenda.
But were you thinking the day of the week, like lunch, or just the
No,
time?
just 5 o'clock instead of 5:30.
Okay.
And I really messed up this agenda. There is no committee reports.
I was gonna say, but
So-
we'll do a motion to accept yours as information, if somebody wants to make that motion.
I can make that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried. We're gonna do 5.7.1, and it's gonna be just community, or, what's it called?
Just committee report,
Committee
maybe?
reports, there we go. Okay, we'll go around. Tracy, do you wanna talk about?
Just one of the things that really stood out to me at the conference we went to is that really reviewing everyone's needs for whatever project that you are working towards, if it be somebody that's handicapped or hearing disability or anything like that, or, you know, like, I guess it was a heavy Indigenous presence there, and they really talked about meeting people's needs that are in your community, not just the general public. And I think as a community service board, like I know before when we were going forward with some more rec programs and that, we did have a gentleman that was on the board that was disabled, and he really made me aware, but then it kind of slides back because you're not doing those projects again. But I think if we do go forward, just reviewing, are we meeting everybody's needs outside this room? You know, I think it's just so important. I mean, you put so much money into a project and then not everybody can enjoy it because we didn't think outside the scope.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing that I really took from that.
Arlene?
I don't have too much to update on in our area, other than I'm hearing lots of new people moving into the community that I don't know who's keeping track of numbers, but apparently there's been lots of people moving in. And excited to hear comments like yours about, you know, that the council really, at this committee and council as a whole, focus on the diversity and inclusion and the more every opportunity. But I mean, I've really got the sense from the time I've been a part of this group that it is a priority for everyone. It's good to hear.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, thank you. John?
Yeah, I think I'll follow up on that. I do like the way that we're moving in a direction that's more informing, more engaging, more community oriented. I think you know, we've definitely come a long way in the last couple of years, so it's nice to see. I continue to worry about the future that's in front of us, and the reality is you make food and energy expensive, and it affects people who can least afford it the most, and then you throw the mental health strains on top of that. So, you know, keep an eye on your neighbors and keep an eye on your friends, and look out for the food banks and see if you got some coats you can donate, and you know, get involved in the community, is all I can say, so. With that, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I don't have too much to update. I'm excited for this new youth member to see what she can bring to the group and bring a much different perspective than the rest of us. So, other than that, I don't have much to share.
Joan?
So yeah, my first time attending the ARPA conference was kind of eye-opening, and it was heavy. What do I want to say? Almost emotional in some sense of the word. There was a lot of, they talked about a lot of the intergenerational trauma with respect to the Indigenous, and it was interesting to see because we did see the perspective of kind of two sides at the conference, unknowingly. You know, from Reg Crochu and his family, you know, which are very, I would say, almost forgiving and kind, and have really moved forward from the trauma that, you know, his family endured. His father himself being in the residential schools, and then how it affected his family, his son, his daughters, and then his granddaughter. So yeah, it was yeah, a little heavy, but very interesting. Another session that I had gone to was kind of interesting too. Private organization, worked with the municipality. It was in the city of Leduc, in which recreational program in which they had a open parking lot, and the gentleman somewhat touched base with the municipality and said, hey, I'd like to paint the parking lot and put different games, whether it be tic-tac-toe or like a beanbag game. He supplies all of the stuff for the games, and how it's drawn the community to that particular area of the city. It was very interesting, and then also he put sheds up around the parking lot, and they have markets and things like that as well. So, and it actually led for one lady, she would rent the little shed out for her cupcake business. And it was first, you know, like once a month kind of thing. Then it morphed into once a week kind of thing. She'd sell out to doing it about 2-3 times a week. She would show up at that location and selling out again to now she's actually opening her own storefront. So interesting how that kind of incubated and got her going. So I was going to chat with Bert and see if there was somewhere, if we had a spare parking lot somewhere, maybe we could start this up in one of our hamlets or something, because it was kind of a unique situation that has really worked well for the city of Leduc.
Heather?
Oh, I gave you a whole
Okay.
bunch. I can add, I did enjoy the conference as well, attending it with administration and community members. That was interesting. And I agree with Joan. They focused a lot on that intergenerational trauma, but then on the other end, Joan and I attended a session on leadership, trauma-informed leadership. So how as leaders in our community, how do you start to recognize that people might have some trauma? So they were really interesting sessions. Yeah.
There's one other thing that I forgot. So this was a little while ago, but the council at the time had voted to write a letter of support for Lynn Connell. She was doing a petition for a new hospital in the Whitecourt Woodlands region. So we actually voted to supply her with that letter, and she's going to be, I don't have the dates off the top of my head here, but they're going to be making a presentation at the Ledge for that. So that's kind of a neat thing to be part of. But
Yeah.
we did sign the letter of support and supply them with the letter of support for it.
Okay. I'll just read you guys my notes from the conference too. The one thing so I typically go to conferences that are quite dark, so I stayed on the flip side of things and went to all the fun ones, because usually the trauma piece is what I deal in, so I was like, I'm gonna go to the other stuff. And a lot of this, ones that I went to were like pop-up community gardens that Calgary had all these extra planters from the big hosted events that they used to do. So they actually had community groups apply, and they would supply the actual planters with dirt, and then people would garden in them, and they would put them on hard surfaces so that there was no maintenance around it, and they would drop them off in the spring and then come get them in the fall, and it was providing that gardening space for community that brought them out of their homes too. So that was kind of a neat one. The city of Edmonton does, they actually garden a plot of land. I'm not sure where it is located, but they provided all the, I think it was 5 or 10 acres that they did potatoes, carrots, beets, and it all went to their food bank. And they produced 50,000 pounds of vegetables at $2 a pound after all the processing and all the stuff is done. So just outside the box thinking a little bit with a plot of land that wasn't being used. Kind of a neat idea. Talked a little bit about activating neighborhoods in spaces where just kind of making sure that, you know, if you go to Blue Ridge, is there a space that you could paint or do something that would draw community to it? Always kind of looking through a different lens when it comes to how do we activate these neighborhoods and get them out of their homes. Yoga on the street, painting soccer and hockey spaces, street concert, porch parties, yarn bombing was something that they had a yarn club that actually would cover the little boxes on the streets just to make them look funny. Still usable, but it was just something that chair bombing, putting chairs into spaces that aren't used so that people sit down. A curling rink in a location that is usable, like you can do the milk jug curling outside stuff. And age-friendly, making sure that everything is age-friendly. Building back better neighborhoods is what part of the stuff. I listened to a talk on a mental health park. So when they're designing parks in spaces, making it so that it was actually built on the backside of the Calgary Center for Children and Adolescent Mental Health. And it was on the backside that they actually were very mindful on teenage girls, how they like to communicate in circles instead of a long bench, climbing up on top of things, making sure that they could be together somewhere safe, those kind of things, just making those spaces for girls, because typically these parks are built with boy-friendly, basketball hoops, and then the girls come there with their little basketball and the space is taken by, just that kind of stuff. And making, we're very good as a society to plan things inside spaces. So there's rec volleyball, there's all these other things, but they're like, what about, utilizing our spaces that we as municipalities are planning for them in outside spaces. If there's a basketball, volleyball nets, we can say teen girls, 5 o'clock, go use that space. Just something to think about when it comes to that kind of stuff. The one thing about the mental health park was they actually made it so that it was therapy without a therapist, which I thought was kind of a neat thing too. And the inclusion starts with I was one of the take-homes that I actually did. So that was my notes. But like I said, I stayed on the fun side of things. It wasn't too trauma-based, because
Me and Joan were trauma-based.
you guys went to the trauma stuff, and I did the fun mental health parks and stuff. But it was a good conference, and I think I did, even in all my roles that I play in the community, when you have good ideas that you can watch other communities doing that is working, especially after the pandemic, that people were staying, we got stuck in our homes for a very long time. I think it was important to just have these new ideas that simply can be done with some strategic planning. So that's mine.
Can I just mention one more thing when you're talking about that? One of the ones I went to is, and I'm not sure in the rural area how it'd work, but it was bring your backyard to the front. So move your fire pit to the front. So let's get neighbors visiting. Let's get people involved. So I thought it was a good idea. Kids see someone roasting hot dogs or something and they kind of open up, can we join you or whatever. I think with the pandemic, it really was encouraged to start doing stuff like that. And another thing with our youth committee, or our youth joining our committee, I'm wondering if there's any way once she gets a little bit comfortable, if we could have her as a guest chairperson. Because I think that they need to build skills while they're here. I think that's the purpose, one of the purposes of us doing that. And I think if we ask them and guide them through it, have them chair one of the meetings, I think that would be an awesome idea.
If I could tell you when I talked to Rebecca about the process of our meetings, and I said, you know, we call the meeting to order, then we adopt the minutes, and I went through it. She goes, so this is just like 4-H?
Oh.
And I said,
Pretty much.
yes. I said, it's preparing you, like 4-H prepares you to come out. So she's excited to be a part of that, and she'd probably love that too.
Good.
Yeah.
And as you said that, I don't know if we're all part of that rural crime watch kind of page that's on Facebook in that area, but a lot of people during because we don't get trick-or-treaters out in the country so much, but there was people going out to their driveways and going out and meeting people. If you're driving by, I got a fire pit going, I got some candies and maybe some shots, but whatever, like they were getting people are wanting to get
Yeah.
people to
Yeah,
come
they did that
in.
in my circle too. Yeah.
So
If you, because I live in town, so the other day I'm letting my dog out on the deck, and there's a gentleman, there's some trees from a neighbor, and he's kind of walking there, and he's looking in our backyard, and he's walking kind of funny, and I can't see below his shoulders, and I'm, okay, so that caught my attention. So I watched him, Fia went in the house, and I keep watching him, and he's walking really slow, and then he came back, and then he started walking again, so I went out in the garage, and I said, Gregory, my husband, there's a guy that's like scoping out stuff. So, of course, I said to my husband, he goes out, he comes in, he goes, honey, that's our new neighbor. He just moved in, like, beside us there. So I'm like, oh. So I need to go meet my neighbor and apologize for being Karen in the backyard going, you know, what are you doing?
all right, okay,
Wait, do we motion for information, eh?
that's information.
A motion that committee accepts the reports for information?
Okay, all in favor? Next item is our next meeting, which will be December 8th. And
You're more than, the only thing that would probably be on that is an update on the policies going to council and the CARE program, unless you want to call December and we can do it in January.
I'm in Maui
In December?
on the 8th.
Well, if there's not gonna be much on the agenda, I don't see a reason to have a meeting.
Okay, so we will go to the second Thursday in January.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So that would be on the 12th?
Okay, January 12th at 5:30 or 5 o'clock?
5:30.
Yeah.
We can't change it unless we, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do we need a motion for our next meeting? Do we? See, I
I
can't
don't
teach
think so.
Rebecca anything because I don't know.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a fail.
No.
All right, so the adjournment, number 7.
It's on the, we don't have to?
We don't have
I'll
to?
motion to adjourn.
Well, we always do it, I always do it at the other meetings. Okay, all in favor?